Oh, look at Sebastian clearing the dead one on that one.
There we go. All right. Welcome, everybody. Matt McNeil here with Christus from Kegel, my neighbor in Southwest Florida. I'm in Southwest Florida. Christus is over in Lake Wales, but we're only 2 hours apart in Florida. And today we're at the Lucky Larsen, commentating with as you join us here on the live stream. And we got a couple stars in the field today, Christus.
Yeah, I think this squad should be pretty interesting to watch. We have a couple of local players from around this area. Obviously, I'm sure most of you that are watching know Jesper Svensson. So we really want to see how he's going to attack the lanes and how the pattern looks for him. We also have Jesper Agerbo, and I believe is he on 9 and 10. So I'm curious to see how that type of style is going to play this pattern as well. So we have obviously a couple of re-entries going on as well. So it should be an interesting squad to watch.
What's predominantly from I've been seeing you watching upstairs most of the squads. We've had a few conversations between the two of us, but what's your opinion of what you've seen out there as far as how the pattern's playing? Is it pretty true to what you had in your mind when you put the pattern together?
Yeah, I think we got to where we thought we will. I do think maybe it is slightly on a higher or on a little harder to score side.
Mm-hmm.
I think it maybe turned out a little harder than I thought it will be. But also, this is still early in the tournament. I think players are still searching for the right shape, searching for the right location on the lane as well. I also think some of the players are also searching for the right equipment.
Yeah.
I've seen a lot of bowling balls go down the lane that have way too much surface, in my opinion.
Yep.
And I think that's partially because they see a lot of volume on the graph.
Yeah.
I think that's a pretty common mistake these days that we see quite often. Obviously, we know how much torque the players put, especially the two-handers one. The equipment is so strong, and the lane surface is getting worn, so there's quite a bit of friction. And obviously, we have the SPL panels over here, which we all know that they hook quite a bit from the beginning. So I think as the squads go on, we'll see a bit more higher scores as the players adjust and actually, more of the squad transitions into a certain part of the lane and kind of start to play a bit more together.
Yeah, I definitely think you're right about that. I think there's been a lot of surface go down the lane so far, and that's really boxing people in front to back. They can't get their ball down the lane, so then they're forced left early, which is really a trap because that window that's already very, very short front to back gets even tighter. And that's when you get the 2A10 Greek church. We talk about the ball not facing up, and we see Jesper Svensson there with the 3-7. And I think one of the things too that when I looked at the pattern, I saw the amount of oil on the forward run, and I'm like, just in the back of my mind, I know how fast they're going to transition. Especially, we get in the format today where it's like squad after squad after squad after squad. They're not sitting very long. And maybe you have a little more scientific background. I just know it from, my playing days and being a tour rep. When the lanes don't sit very long, the pattern transitions very quickly.
Well, fortunately, we have a good amount of time between squads. So I mean, we're still giving the lanes at least 15-20 minutes to sit pretty much.
Okay. Yep.
So at least the pattern from the beginning it settles pretty good, I think. Of course, we a lot of times what we know what happens, is as we reel more and the lanes get cleaned a bit more, and they do sometimes become a little, tackier or trickier, whatever you want to call it. So you might want to see that you might see a little bit of a more defined, dry spot and more defined push. But again, there's so many factors, that come into play, and we can sit here and talk about all of them. But weather can come and play. Yesterday was raining over here. Today is a nice day outside. So of course that's going to make a difference of the way the environment is in a bowling center as well. So, but I definitely think that creating push is probably the hardest part so far on this pattern for the players.
Mm-hmm.
I think a lot of the players that I've been watching so far, they've been trying to hook the lane a little too much than I think that they should on this pattern so far. So, and of course, putting so much surface and using a super strong bowling ball is usually not your best option when you're trying to maybe keep it a little bit more calmer down the lane. And like I said, I'm excited for next couple of squads to see some of the different styles and see how they play the pattern.
Yeah, I agree. I think when you look at the format too, and so far you look at the scoring pace. You know, I think there's a measure of patience that needs to be taken in too, where you're really saying, okay, I need to stay in this part of the lane and be close. I don't have to be starting with a four-bagger. I need to be close, and I know the lanes are going to develop. I'm going to develop a little hold if I stay in this part of the lane because of how the pattern's structured. You know, they will stretch out, and it's going to come to me. But I think the players need to have patience.
Definitely, 100%. I agree with you. I think on fresh, you know, they're quite tricky on fresh.
Yeah.
However, when we did some pattern testing even back at Hegel, and when we did some pattern testing here, when we threw quite a few shots down the line, I mean, maybe like 2 games, 3 games, let's say, you know, in a squad format like this, we actually saw, you know, if you played it the right part of the lane, what I think, you know, the players should do, and then even if you used a little bit of irritant in the beginning, they actually develop pretty nicely, you know, towards the middle of the squad. So if you can survive the first couple of games, I think you can actually hit some scores, like, you know, games 3, 4, 5 maybe. But I think what's happening so far is the players are starting a little bit too far to the left, the right-handers. And obviously there's quite a bit of surface being thrown, so that actually doesn't help with those middle 3, 4, 5 games. It actually probably makes it a little bit more difficult, and that's why I don't think we're seeing anyone putting a major set together just yet on the right side. We saw one guy, Peter Hildstrom, yesterday. He looked very good, and he actually stayed to the right quite a bit for the majority of the squad.
Yep. Yeah, I think that's the big thing out there from what I'm seeing is I think you just got to be really patient, control the 1-3 for the right side, and you know try to develop it and let it come to you. You know, it seems opening up angles early is just really, it makes it a really tough go front to back because, you know, you short it a little bit, hooks high, you get through it a little too clean, 2-8-10, you know, and then, you know, you get a couple red numbers up there through 3, 4, 5 frames, and, you know, now you got to throw a 4-5 bagger just to get back to 200. And so,
certainly. Yeah, and again, I am a fan of a scoring pace that's a little lower. Of course, you know, designing patterns, we need to have a variety of everything. We obviously want some tournaments to be higher scoring. We want some tournaments to be maybe a little lower scoring. When it comes to events like this, where it's I mean, we're, you know, Martin's giving away a PBA tour title over here, so to me that's the highest level competition that there is in the world. So I believe the players that bowl this tournament, whoever's going to win, I think they will have to really earn it. So whether it's dialing in your equipment, maybe drilling another bowling ball, or you have to really dial in your technique as well to make sure that you match up to the pattern and you create something that maybe that's not as defined from the beginning.
yeah, I certainly agree. All right, so we're moving pairs here at Olympia Bowl. Got more of the middle of the house here. Christus, you know these guys. Who are we taking a look at?
Yeah, I wanted to see Marcus Jansson and also Jesper Agerbo. Two very good players. One's from Denmark, one's from Sweden. I think Marcus he was leading qualifying last year, if I remember right. So obviously they're very talented and very accomplished players. So I wanted to see how he plays the pattern. He likes to throw it pretty firm. I'm just curious to see where he ends up at. And then Jesper, on the other hand, he likes to spin the bowling ball a little bit more, so he also likes to throw it firm, so I think it'd be a little bit easier for him to keep it on a lane or on line. So I'm curious if that looks pretty good for him.
Yeah.
See a lot of two-handers around here, don't we?
Lots of two-handers. It's I tell you what, it's definitely, we talked about earlier this morning. It's the fast track to success. I mean, it really removes a lot of the steps we had to take growing up in the environment we grew up in.
Right. I was joking around with Martin the other day. I was saying how when I bowl, when I think about my adjustments, I think, well, making ball changes, making hand adjustments, making speed adjustments, and it seems like the most popular adjustment for these two-handers right now is actually to throw it back up.
Yes. Which
I find it it's fascinating, and it's very interesting to watch at times, and it's very impressive to see how good they are actually at doing it.
I just take a Carl Eklund, watching him throw a backup was I don't know if my best day in my prime I could beat him backing it up. He throws a pretty good backup. So,
I think you see a lot of these young two-handers that are catching up on this trend, and they're very good. I've seen people win tournaments doing that, and it's very impressive how they take advantage of both sides.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah, if you get into a situation where the left side clearly has the advantage, then it's really, really great. I think it's interesting too that watching them shoot spares. If you're throwing a backup, then you really never shoot a cross-handed, a cross-lane spare, that would be kind of nice.
I find that very interesting, though. I was always a believer that, especially on some harder patterns like this, for example, I feel like you should be shooting your spare straighter. I feel like that's kind of a higher percentage chance, especially if you don't have, a good look to the pocket and you're curving at every single spare. I feel like it might get a little tricky sometimes, but at the same time, I don't see these two-handers miss a lot of spares when they're trying to curve at them. I feel like they miss more spares when they try to shoot them straight.
Yeah. How about Noel Torgerson over there on 5 and 6, pacing 270, the son of the great Tori Torgerson, probably one of the best European bowlers ever to bowl. I think Tori's recovering from some injury, maybe. I heard he wasn't feeling all that great. So Tori, if you're listening in, hope you get well soon, my friend. Hope you're doing good. But definitely done a good job with his son. Pretty good, pretty talented young player there.
It's a nice feeling when you can get off to a good start on a tougher pattern, especially on fresh. If you can collect quite a few points in the beginning, that could be big help.
Absolutely. Good shot there from Jesper Agerbo. Or no, that was that was Yep.
Looks like you got a couple of splits in the beginning, but then caught a four-bagger. So
I think he's kind of
hitting the pocket so far. So that's a good sign.
Staying patient, I think, just staying in that zone and not getting forced out of that zone prematurely.
Yeah, think there's a way to create a little bit of more push if you know dial in your hand positions and you maybe use your equipment wisely and maybe don't try to hook so much of the lane and try to be maybe a little softer with your hand. That's at least what I'm seeing so far.
So what's of course you've been with Kegel now for how long? How long have you been working at Kegel?
It's almost been 10 years.
Wow, time flies. Man, does time fly. We used to bowl against each other in college.
Right, yeah. Yeah, this summer is actually 10 years since I graduated from Lumber. It's 10 years this summer.
Yeah.
It's crazy.
Yeah, it is. And so what's your, for everybody listening, what's your duties at Kegel mainly?
So I am, my official title says Sales and Product Development Specialist.
Okay.
So it's as we like to joke around at Kegel, we tend to do a variety of things. We're like, we help a little bit in almost like every department as much as we can. But I mainly work with Doug Dukes on the sales team. So obviously I keep in touch with a lot of distributors. We're trying to create a lot of content for them as well. Whether it's technical content, whether it's some educational content, obviously we visit them quite often and keep a good relationship with them, since that's what's really important, as you know, I'm sure. But I also, besides the whole sales part, I will stay in the. When I started at Kegel, I was a bowling research specialist. So all I did was pretty much bowl and test all the products, came up with some different testing procedures. I tested chemicals, I tested patterns, I tested lane machines and some of those features. So as a bowler, that stuff's still very, I'm very interested in it. As I like to, joke around sometimes, I'm a little bit of a bowling geek.
Yeah.
So that stuff interests me. I always want to try to learn something. I want to try, maybe design some different patterns and then try to see how they work. And then, of course, with some testing and stuff. So I still help out with some testing, with some new products that are coming up. I usually try to give my input whenever it's needed, and just help our R&D team, if needed. And so that's really my daily duties, really, and it seems to be working okay so far.
Oh, that's great. Great place to work too. Great people over at Kegel. Can't say enough about guys like Doug Dukes and Don Agent and obviously John Janowitz and Chris Chartrand, who's running the place over there, and just a lot of really good people for the sport of bowling over there.
No, certainly, I totally agree with you. I mean, all of those people, they're good friends of mine. I consider them really good friends of mine. They have helped me a lot since I moved to US. I mean, I literally came to US because of the Kegel Training Center. Of course, I studied there and then bowled, and after that, I got a job at Kegel and been working since, and they helped me out a lot. They made me feel like it's my home there, and it's sometimes it might not be as easy with, having someone from so far away and from a different culture and stuff like that. So I really appreciate all the people that work there and that I had a chance to come across with.
Well, we had Noel Torgerson, 258, very, very good start. Anton Anderson can get out here with 247. Jesper Agerbo, 216. So I'd take 216 on the fresh on this. Put the change in my pocket and off I go to the next pair.
I honestly think 2-0 is a pretty good game.
Yeah,
and if you get a few extra.
Yeah, hey, that's bonus. All right, Matt McNeil at the Lucky Larsen, back with Christus from Kegel. And I say Christus from Kegel because I cannot pronounce his last name properly. So it's just going to be Christus from Kegel.
Yeah, that sounds about par.
Okay, par.
So what we're gonna see here in game 2, it looks like we had some pretty decent scores in game 1.
Oh.
Some players are off to a pretty good start. See a couple of 270, a 250, a 240, another 240. Looks like some of those players that scored pretty high stayed to the outside a little bit as well, and they're kind of seeing the benefits of that, I suppose.
I think they heeded our wisdom, didn't they?
Oh yeah, well. I'm not sure if two of us can really do a whole lot of wisdom here, but we can just sit here and talk about it. They're actually the ones throwing the bowling ball.
Exactly, the peanut gallery over here.
Yeah. So, talking about throwing a bowling ball.
Yeah.
I heard that Matt McNeil is supposed to hit the lanes as well.
Yeah, well.
When is that happening?
Whenever American Airlines decides to deliver my bowling bags. So they got mishandled on my journey over. And I guess they arrived in Copenhagen this morning. It'll just be whenever the Copenhagen office can transfer them up to Olympia Bowl.
All right. Well, hopefully within the next couple of days, maybe you'll hit the lanes and
well, yeah.
do a couple of warm-up squats. I hope, and then.
I think Daniel Ronbeck's hoping I take a couple warm-up squats because that's what they would be. I've thrown 3 games for score in the last 3 months, so they.
Sounds like it's game on between
Yeah, it
you two
is.
then.
I know it is. That's the funniest thing about when you go to work in bowling, you bowl a lot less.
Yeah, I know the feeling when travels start to happen and you start traveling all over the world. It becomes quite difficult to manage some practice time, some tournament time, then obviously have all the work to do, which it could get complicated for sure.
Yeah. Yeah, it's one of those. It's just one of those things too. And I've always felt like I believe very strongly in your life you're going to have ebb and flow. You're going to have times where I really don't want to be bowling a lot. I got other things I'm focused on in my life that I'm putting a lot more energy and time into, and then you're going to have times in your life where it's just you have time and you're wanting to compete and you're practicing and you're bowling weekend tournaments and you're really after it. So, if, just over the course of your life, it's going to ebb and flow.
Yeah, what I think is interesting about what you said too is that I think there's one common thing that you might not be maybe bowling as much, but you're still within the bowling world. You're so, let's say you or myself, we're so passionate about bowling that I don't think we'll ever be far away from the game. Whether we're competing at a high level or maybe we're just bowling a league at home, or maybe we don't have time to bowl, but we're doing some other things within the bowling industry, and I think that's obviously you can't really take that away as well. So you have to we might not be showing up every tournament, but we're still supporting bowling as much as we can.
Absolutely, yeah. I mean, I love what I do for Storm. I get to travel all over the world and do coaching and seminars and a lot of great things. I get to work a lot of great events that we sponsor all over the world in the United States. So that's for me. Like I enjoy doing that way more right now than I do bowling myself. Not to say that I'm ever not going to pick up a bowling ball, but right now my focus is really on my duties at Storm, and I'm really, really happy to be a part of that family.
Everyone's always got to find their sweet spot.
That's right. There's
you
always
have to be comfortable, and the people that surround you have to be comfortable with, and have to enjoy working with everyone within your company, and it's very important, and that's what makes you stay within the industry as well. If you're surrounded with the correct people.
Yep, absolutely, 100%.
So we've been speaking all about this industry stuff and how we don't bowl, but I'm still going to ask you. So we spoke a little bit about what I think I saw on the right side a little bit.
Yep.
You're a lefty yourself, so you need to tell us a little bit of what you think you haven't bowled a squad yet, but since your bowling balls are hopefully on the way and you
Yeah.
will bowl, what are you seeing on the left side?
Yeah, I think it's pretty similar to what we talked about on the right hand side. I think you want to be closer to the gutter if you can be. Straighter launch angles through the front part of the lane. I think pretty smooth balls. Like I think an IQ Tour with a little surface on it would be a really good piece right now. If you had a little higher rev rate. I know the gentleman in the first squad, he was throwing a IQ 78. So it just depends on the bowler you are, but you could even use maybe like a pin down strong ball, and just kind of have it roll up more in the middles and just kind of send a roller up there, take your chances. And I think the carry's pretty good from out here, so I'm not looking for anything to be crazy shaping down lane. I want the ball to slow down close to me and just send a roller up there and kind of take my chances with it, and and go from there. I've always said bowl for ball reaction first. Everything else after that will take care of itself. So you try to create a smooth shape out there. And on my side, for most bowlers, I guess, most left-handed bowlers, I think getting right of 8-9 at the arrows I don't think that needs to be in the equation. I think you need to be left and find a way to get the ball to do the right thing, find a way to create that smoother shape where it's still slowing down closer to you and just rounding off versus a cleaner, quicker shape or something that wants to hook right when it hits the lane. Soft hands, I think, too. Just a nice, smooth, soft hand with a little rotation. I don't think you need a ton, but just it's smooth. Maybe I'm overgeneralizing too, but I don't think it's all that crazy. I think it's a pretty clear picture out there of what you're trying to do.
Yeah, I would agree with you. I mean, that's what we kind of spoke in game one when we were kind of watching what's going on and chatting about how we see the lanes to play. And yeah, like I said, I'm still seeing that it's sort of it's quite difficult to create a little bit of push.
Mm-hmm.
And of course, the pattern is actually, it is pretty flat, especially in that middle part of the pattern.
Yes.
You're looking about like from 8 on the right to 8 on the left. It is 2 to 1.
Yeah.
Obviously, so there's not a whole lot of definition, especially in the middle part of the pattern. So
where's the drop brush at?
It's at 40 feet.
So you only got 2 feet of taper there too. Which that's one of the big things. I got to be honest with you, and we haven't talked about this before, but me as the bowler in me feels like when that reverse brush drop is right at the end of the pattern, I know going in it's going to be a very touchy pattern for me as a bowler. And when I say touchy as a bowler, that's my little grab, little miss, little fast, little slow. Like that's my front to back miss. And I just feel like because that reverse brush drop's there, that taper, there isn't as much taper front to back. I feel that's when they're going to be touchier for me. And so I'm looking at, when I see that, I look at trying to find something that's always going to slow down. Like I lean on the heavier side of equipment, but maybe I'll use weak layouts. Or I'll try to use bigger footprints as far as covers are concerned, but maybe just a little higher finish, so I can get them down the lane. But I still want something that's big and slow and rolly, that's always, that's really going to help me blend that front to back line. That's just me as a bowler. That's always how I felt about it. And I don't know, I know the scientific reasoning, you get that reverse brush drop right at the end of the pattern, there's not as much taper front to back. What does that equate to as far as your bowler experience? For me, that's what it is. And it could be wrong too, but
I agree with you when you're dealing with a less front to back taper. If we're talking about bowling balls and ball motion, I definitely think you need to look for something that wants to roll up a bit sooner, so that way it's just a little bit more smoother down the lane, so you can have a little bit more control, especially when you're dealing with flatter patterns.
Yeah.
2-to-1s, 1.5-to-1s, even some of the 2.5-to-1s could be pretty difficult, especially if you're having some of the topography. That doesn't help you as well. So you definitely want something that will read a bit sooner, so that way when the bowling ball gets off the end of the pattern, it's not going immediately left or right, whichever hand you throw it with. So you definitely want to find that control point, and obviously that's where the softer hand comes into play, because you can also do a lot of those tricks with your hand.
Yep.
So that's when it comes to ball motion. That's what I would agree with you that you're looking for that. When it comes to the reverse brush drop, there are a lot of factors that will determine what's going to happen when the brush drops back onto the lane. And the way I like to look at it is you want to really see how the brush is loaded on the forward pass to begin with.
Okay.
Now, if my forward pass only has 2-to-2s, let's say, so I'm oiling from side to side, by the time it gets to the end of the pattern, and then on the way back, you have to envision how saturated the brush is from one side to another, right? So when you're dropping the brush back on a lane, all that 2-to-2 is technically getting deposited, whatever's left of it is getting deposited back onto the lane. So you're kind of, putting a flat patch at the end of the pattern, which I think that could create some of those feelings that you described about the pattern being a little touchy. Now, if I only apply 10-to-10s, for example, or majority of the loads are, let's say, more inside, you will have a different effect, because then you will drop more push towards the middle of the pattern. At the end of the pattern, that's where bowlers really want to see some more push. So there's, you see what I'm saying? There's a couple, you have to also think of what the structure is and how that brush is getting saturated.
Wow, that makes sense.
What location is it getting saturated? It's also important how much volume we're putting on a forward pass. Like if I'm putting, let's say if I have a pattern that's 30 mils and I'm putting 25 of those mils on a forward
pass,
that brush is getting really, really saturated. So when it's coming back and it's dropping onto the lane, it's going to have quite a bit of volume left in the brush itself. Now, if I'm only putting, let's say, 5 mils on the forward pass, by the time it gets to the end of the pattern, it's going to be very dry. So that effect of the brush drop is not going to be as major. So I think it's very important to not just look at the distance where it's dropped, but it's also very important to see what happens before and how that brush is prepared to be dropped back onto the lane.
Well, I tell you, if you got to listen, anybody that got to listen to that, is just, you learned that's an invaluable lesson, Christus. Thank you so much, because I had never looked at it like that. And I look at a lot of graphs, obviously, but man, I really never paid attention to that. So that's awesome. That is really cool, man. I just learned something new today. I'm excited.
It's like I said, Kegel's always been about trying to share the information, and one thing that I think we've always prided ourselves, we always want to share what we know. I always want to share what I know. I've learned. I still, we spoke about JJ a little bit. He's out bowling right now, and he bowled all summer, and I'm sure most of us saw what kind of a season he had. So big congratulations to him, of course. But JJ is a walking, encyclopedia. He knows every single thing about the lane machine. He knows every single thing about the pattern. And if you ask him, he will say, well, yeah, of course there's something to learn, which is, I appreciate that very much. And so there's just so many knowledgeable people that, and everyone's shared that information towards me. I've learned so many things just by practicing with JJ or listening to Don Agent speak about lane machines and what happened back in the day, and then JJ giving all these tips. Every pattern that we design, we usually try to speak within our team, so we try to come up with something that makes the most sense. And of course, at the same time, we also want to maybe try and develop something new and try some different things. So that's why some of those pattern designs sometimes look a little bit different, especially in today's environment. Obviously, the game has changed over the last couple of years with urethane being dominated so much, and the two-handed game is also coming into such a big play now. So I think the patterns are also kind of need to adjust a little bit. And so knowledge is key, of course, and then like I said, I try to absorb as much as I can, and then if I can share a little bit of that, it's always a good thing to me. So
I agree with you 100%. When everybody's sharing, everybody's learning, and everybody's getting better. So I'll tell you what, the more good people we have in the sport and in the industry, the better off we are. So I'm totally on board with that. I'm really glad you shared that and we had that discussion, because for me, that was like, that's a big nugget for me of information that is very, very valuable. So
Right.
thank
So,
you very much.
Not a problem. I will add one more thing about this. So in this case, if you look at the pattern, since the pattern is now published, we can
Yeah.
obviously speak about it. So I don't think that's really going to give much of a benefit to any player if I say some of those things. But if you look at the volumes, the total volumes, they're actually split pretty evenly, like about 50%.
Yep.
There's 16 and 16 mils
Yep.
going forward and reverse. But one thing to note about the forward pass is actually that it's a little bit shorter than you normally would see in a lot of patterns. I think the actual applied oil ends at I believe it's 27 feet off the top of my head, which is for a 42-foot pattern it's a little bit on the shorter end.
Yeah.
Which also what that means is that by the time that brush reaches the end of the pattern,
Yeah.
it has a bit more time to buff out. So
It
there's
does,
not
yeah.
as much left in a brush to also
Yes.
put back when the reverse brush drop comes into an effect.
Wow,
So
yeah.
there's some things that you have to think like that, how much buff area you have to give that brush to kind of reach back to its equilibrium again and then flatten out as we speak. And so, like I said, there's a lot of things that come into play that you have to have this almost 3D vision in it, to see and add all those things, which I think you start to learn those things when you start to run some of those machines and start to see how they operate, and obviously change the patterns a little bit and bowl on them yourself and see what happens, and do they get tighter, do they open up a little bit more, is there more push, is there more hook, like what happens when you start to make some of the changes.
Yeah, that's a big lesson there. So I really appreciate that insight, because that's just stuff you're exposed to a lot more frequently than me, and especially building these patterns, that. So for me, that was really good information. So yeah, we're almost done with game 2. So that means Daniel Ronbeck here in the tournament office is going to toss me and Christus out back into our peanut gallery. And
Before we go,
Oh, yeah.
are you going back to the slot machine? Because I'm hearing you made a bit of a profit.
yeah, 500 crowns I made first time gambling in Sweden.
That is unreal.
Yeah, I hit the Lobster Mania bonus and
So
took my money and ran.
Perfect.
Now
Well, that money I'm sure is going back somewhere.
No, maybe to the Bishop's Arms.
I was gonna say you might just want to leave it here at the bar.
Yeah. I think
Give it back to the Olympia Bowling Center.
Yeah, I think Mr. Patrick will get a few beers from me. I'll take a few beers from Mr. Patrick, our host. So, but nice game. Actually, a nice game there for Mr. Magnuson there.
Well, we have Jonathan over here that's have a chance to shoot 260 as well.
Yeah, nice game there, and
He actually did shoot 268 for 43 over after 2, which is also, I think, a very respectable score at this stage.
mm-hmm. Yeah, I think navigating the transition when you get off your starting pair is pretty darn important. Making sure you got that front to back window, ball seeing it the right way. Especially as the pattern changes, pattern stretch out, and making sure you're staying out of that 210 ball reaction.
I guess as the squad goes, we will also see, if the players did make the pattern play a little bit easier or tougher as games 3 and 4 go. So I would pay attention to that, and I think that's what I'm going to go and sit down and watch some of those players and see how the pattern develops again. Obviously, I've seen a couple of squads already, so I have an idea what's going to happen, but I think when these squads happen, I think it's very important what the whole squad is kind of doing. Like we had a couple of squads that was a little bit all over the place, and that's where the scoring pace was a little lower, and then we had a squad where some players stayed a bit closer together and developed the lanes a little bit better, and we saw some higher scores, and could potentially happen in this squad as well, since we saw a pretty good start. some decent scores in game one.
Absolutely, absolutely. All right, well, we are going to take a break for a couple games. We will be back games 5 and 6. We're going to be Martin Larson's going to step into the booth, and I'm going to come on back. So we'll have some good discussion then. So make sure to tune in, and until then, enjoy the rest of the squad here at the Lucky Larsen Masters.
Thanks for having me, and good luck to everyone competing, and good luck in the bowling.
Yeah, that's it. Get lucky.
testa. Jag bara nytt rekord.
lige huske at gøre alle de andre ting også. Ellers har vi heller ikke spillet de her.
Nej.
Det er vi ikke.
Heller ikke den der Eslev.
Nej, det havde vi nok ikke. Jeg forstår jo godt mange af de andre spillere inde omkring. Hvis ikke jeg har set, at han vundet den ranking, så punkt 1, så har han ikke været på Rusland. Så har vi ikke taget ud til sådan her, fordi så ved jeg jo, at han har det i sig.
Ja, jamen, det er rigtigt.
Altså, drengen han har 170 i snit, og så lige 70 af, og så vinder ranking over Buster og Lasse og...
Ja, det var crazy.
Altså, what? Det er det godt nok. Drengen har aldrig nogensinde lavet inden på 100 i en turnering. Og så vil jeg... Så fyrer han frem, når vi er på de sidste 6. Så tænker altså...
Okay, hello folks that are all of you that are following the squad here. What squad are we at? Fifth squad, I think. Fifth squad of the 2024 Lucky Larsen Masters. You've been hearing Matt McNeil before, and he's back.
Back again.
Back again, together
Yes.
with myself, Martin Larsen. Gonna guide you a little bit and have some conversations here. And the last two games of this block, which actually is a block that feels like the scoring pace is a little bit higher.
Mm-hmm.
You watched a little bit out there, Matt. Anything you noticed compared to the other ones?
I think more people staying to the right. I think that's helping a lot. Seems like the guys who can stay a little more to the right, softer hands. I think that's prevailing and creating some higher scoring opportunities for people.
Talking about softer hands, that's not a thing we talk to very much when we talk about my brother bowling, but to be him, I think he's actually trying to be pretty soft. We see him on lane 1 and 2 now, and obviously he hasn't got the same recognition in the bowling world as myself, but yeah, he can throw some pins around for sure.
Can. Oh yeah, I didn't even think you guys were related when I watched him bowl, knowing how you bowl.
Yeah, and that's I guess not a compliment to me.
No. It's, it's definitely more of a traditional shot maker, and he's more of a power player. So I don't think it's a slam either way. I just watch him bowl and I'm like, how is he related to you? Because I know how I know your game and your style from watching you bowl on tour many years.
Yeah, no, and unfortunately though he kind of has my results now for the first 4 frames with nice pair. I can relate to that.
Yes, right. Yeah.
Pins. It gets me thinking a little bit about the environment we have here at the Olympia. I mean, I bowl on tour. You've been bowling on tour. We've been seeing a lot of different bowling centers.
Yeah.
One of the things I really make sure when we put up the Lucky Larsen Masters, first 2 years at Baltiskan in Malmö, and now we're at Olympia, is we really try to give the bowlers a proper environment, like looking at the racks and all the stuff, and pins here are brand new. Like they've been in the machines for I think a week and a half or something like that, just to make sure they all like make the machines work and everything like that. But brand new pins, and I think, what do you think when you see brand new pins compared to old pins?
Well, brand new pins they tend to fly. They're not what we call broken in, so it's pretty easy to wrap corners on new pins because they go up and around instead of staying lower.
Yeah.
And that's just because they're brand new. So I've always said it's tougher to score, tougher to carry on new pins. But that's just my experience. I don't have any scientific data to prove that. Just my personal experience.
And I think I totally agree. Like, you can get some cool messengers on your pins, but it also feels like it's easier, like you said, to get the 6-pin around the 10-pin, or as a lefty 4-pin around the 7-pin. Overall, I think I agree. Like, they stand steady and they're a little harder to knock over. I think if you ask Jesper, who just struck on lane 3, I think if you ask him, he agreed. We've been seeing him
A lot of
leave some 7-pins.
a lot of wrap 7s. I mean, what's crazy. I was talking to Christus out there. We watched him, game 4. I think he had 220, but he had a couple really. He wraps 7 pins so fast. You can't even see the 4-pin go around the 7 because it happens so fast, because his speed and his rev rate are so high. To me, it's just it's so hard for me to comprehend that the ball doesn't strike.
Yeah.
And then there's that 7-pin standing there, but it goes to show you the argument we're making about the newer pins, and then also how important it is to make sure that your ball motion is correct, because you're not gonna. I really don't mind how you throw it. If you don't create good ball motion, it really is inconsequential at that point.
Yeah, I agree. maybe a little education to some of you. Some of you are really for sure know all those expressions, but some might not. Like when we talk about rap 7 or rap 10 compared to soft 10 or soft 7, what are we actually meaning by those expressions we have, like bowling geeks?
Yeah. Yeah, I mean, so, a wrap corner, so a wrap 10 or wrap 7 is when the 4 or the 6 goes up and around the 10 pin or the 7 pin. The weak 10 or the soft 10 is when you see the 6 pin lay in the channel.
Yeah.
And that's just an indication of how your ball's going through the pins, right?
Yeah.
Your ball can, generally the reason why you don't strike is the ball gets behind the head pin and is, sorry, because I froze myself there because I'm like, wait a minute, we're trying to explain it, and I'm like, now I'm using another slang term.
Yeah, no, exactly. That's I'm just going to stop you there.
Yep.
So it goes behind it. That's another one when we talk on tour and when we talk ball reps and bowlers in between us, when we talk, it comes behind it, and that's another expression that we got there. So we can do that one as well.
Yeah. So what we say when the ball's getting behind the head pin is the ball's not slowing down close enough to you. Is really what we mean.
So it hooks too late.
It hooks too late. Yep. And and generally it can be too slow or too quick. If it's too quick, it's going to wrap it, and if it's too slow, it's going to be weak.
Yeah.
Generally speaking, that's not
kind of like if the ball rolls out.
Yep.
Like it's too weak.
Yep.
Or the ball could be too strong. It could hook too early.
Yes.
But it's too weak in the pins.
Absolutely.
Okay. Yeah. So
you get a lot of variety there, and as we like to joke in our elder years, that we leave lots of combinations of weak wrap. You can create the same 9 spare a lot of different ways.
yeah, absolutely. But that's also why it's important to look at your ball when it hits the pins and how it hits the pins.
Yes.
Not only the way there and how to get to the pocket, and to be able to make a educated guess what the next move should be, if it should be something with your hand or a different ball. You kind of need to look at the ball, go through the pins to have a better chance to make the right type of guess or right type of move.
With a very focused eye too. I mean, the pins are going to tell you a story every time your ball goes through them, and it's very, very important to watch that and then be able to process it and then apply that into a strategy for your next shot. It's so incredibly. I mean, it's like it's probably one of the more important things that I say is essential for somebody that wants to be a successful tournament player.
Yeah.
You have to know. You have to be able to know when your ball's going through the pins improperly, and then how to quickly resolve it.
And the other thing then when it comes into those decisions is you kind of got to know what type of ball you have in your hand, what's inside the ball and what's around it, because if you leave those weak 10s or weak corners when it's rolling out, if you don't know the ball's specifics, like the core or the cover, then you can't make an educated guess for whatever ball you should throw the next one.
Yep.
So I used to say like a little bit like if you're golfing and your ball flies too long, you know what to do. You take another club. But if you don't know what club you hit,
Yes.
you have no chance to make the right move.
Absolutely.
It's the same thing with bowling, but maybe in golf it's easy. It says 7 iron. Okay, it was too far. Maybe I go to the 8. And it basically is the same thing with bowling balls, but it takes a little bit more knowledge and a little bit more study to know what the 7 iron and what the 8 iron is in your bag.
And the tough part is because when you're operating in a tournament environment, you're in a unique moment in time that you'll never recreate because of the lanes and the oil, right? You're not going to ever recreate the moment you're in because the field, you'd have to have the field come in, play in the same way, same surface, repeat every single thing for the lane to get to exactly that point where you had to make that decision. So I think that's the really tough part is with golf, you take the club, you're like, okay, my 7 iron's 157 yards. Okay, you know that to be a fact, and then you can see the pin, yourself to the green. You know how much wind is there because you can feel that. You know if there's a hazard, bunker, or water. But you know, if you put a good swing on it, it's 157 yards.
Yeah.
With bowling, because topography, surface wear, and the lane oil is invisible, those all become educated guesses. You know, because what will work in one instance could not work in another.
No, and what worked in one day on the pattern might not work the next day.
Absolutely.
Like you say with golf, if you have a wind in the back the one day and you come back the next day and hit the same club and you have wind in the face,
Yep.
it will not be the same result.
Absolutely.
But also, like you said, it's easier to feel that and see it in golf. So I guess what we're trying to say is when you bowl, you really need to focus on how the ball gets to the pins and how it goes through the pins. But to have a chance to make the right choice, you also need to do your homework before that to know your equipment.
Yeah, you got to know. I've always said the really, really good players know themselves incredibly well. They know their limitations, they know their tendencies, they know their strengths, and they learn how to adapt and operate in a lot of different environments very, very well. Oh, that was a
Do you see?
nice.
That's a Lucky
yeah,
Larsen hit.
That's a Lucky Larsen.
So for the ones watching other pairs, we are watching the stream on 124, where my I don't know if he looks like my little brother, but he still is. He had 4 nice pairs in a row and then 5 baggers, so he's doing really well. And I'm not sure that he made the cut in one of the Lucky Larsens ever. So he has a good thing going now. So of course I'm gonna root for him a little bit extra.
Absolutely. Yeah, absolutely.
And then we also have Jesper Svensson on 3 and 4, which is of course when the first high score happened in the first block by Anton from Germany. He shot 1450 on the left.
Yep.
Of course everybody goes, Jesper's gonna win this. Jesper's gonna win this.
Yep.
It's not that easy though. Lane change and do bowl differently. Jesper didn't have the best of the starts here today, but this game he's looking pretty solid. And obviously, I'm a really good friend of Jesper and bowl and practice and travel with him, and I know his capacity. So even if he shouldn't make it the first block, he'll get there for sure. He's been having a good kind of look in this center the last couple of years. It was, in my opinion, unlucky last year. He should have won against AJ the way he bowled, but he did take advantage of some good breaks and Jesper had some bad ones. And that's what we got to deal with in this game.
Oh, absolutely. I think that's why, the really, really good bowlers, they're so much more process-oriented versus results-oriented.
Mm-hmm.
I was talking, weird thing I was talking about to Jesper this year about Jesper today about his year on tour. And from an outside perspective, I thought it's one of the best years he's ever had on tour, even though he didn't win. And so we talked about it, and he actually agreed. He said, my game really developed. My spare game was so good. My mental game was so good. I bowled so well, so much more consistently versus other years where my spare game wasn't as good, my mental game maybe wasn't as good. I won a couple tournaments, but then I bowled really bad.
Mm-hmm.
So he really had an amazing season out on tour, and got a bit unlucky there at the end with Kroll, but I think this was probably one of his best years. He's, from an outsider watching him as a left-hander watching him, I think this was probably the best I've seen him bowl.
And also, when you look at that stuff, it's like when you look at other lefties finishing and the way he put his low level a lot higher nowadays. Like he's been grinding before he was winning or done.
Yes.
I think there's been 2 things that happen. One is just age, mental game is growing, and his way of looking at bowling has been differently. So he feel like finishing number 100 it's embarrassing. I got to do something about this. So he's been working on his reactive game, working with his hand positions. And one of the really cool thing I think is that we talk about a lot. Probably you guys that listened to me before, I might have mentioned this, but Jesper used to be 50-50 on his center pin when he got on tour, when he first started. The last 2 years, he's been top spare shooter on tour.
Yes.
Like highest percentage on spares on the whole PGA Tour. So that tells you that he did his homework. He figured out what he was needed to get better at, and he did that.
Yeah, and you know, I was looking at his earnings this year, and so without a win, Jesper made 137,000 US.
Yeah.
Okay. That he made more than 9th in points, 8th in points, 7th in points, 5th in points. So he made more than half of the top 10.
And he finished himself was
10th.
10. Yeah.
But
Yeah.
you know, people, especially to give a good message, spares make money. They do, and Jesper is living proof this year and last year that spares make money.
Yeah, no, it's you can lose a lot on that. You can lose points and money, but also it's really easy to lose your focus and get mad at yourself if you give away pins like that. So no, that's I think that's pretty cool. And this is actually the second time I see somebody really go from not being very good at it at all to be pretty good at it. The first one was Belmo.
Yeah.
I followed Belmo from when he was really young and like going from being okay to the best in the world, and his spare game was sure one of them. He got back from a break one year and come back and it was like a lot better. So yeah, it's there's I mean, you need to strike to win for sure, but those things when you leave something in the middle, it's pretty important. That's a pretty cool game on 3 though. Jesper 268, Jonathan Hallberg 279.
Yeah.
I watched Jonathan struggled in the first game, like he had like 180 I think, and then shot 260.
Yeah.
I think he got it.
Yeah.
Then he shot 180 again or something like that. I don't know, but it was another bad game. So I guess that tells you, even if you get it on the one pair, it's not a house shot out here, huh?
No, I think it's really important too on your follow that you know you can tell. I think when you get more players that probably played to the right versus players that jumped in early, and those pairs are going to be a little more difficult. So that brings in the mental aspect where you gotta get into grind mode. You got to recognize what the pair is going to give you, and then react accordingly. And if it's a more sensitive pair, if it's touchy, you got to find a way to grind 2-0, 2-1, and then you got to take advantage of the good ones.
Yeah.
And that's just, I think that's just part of being really mentally strong.
Okay. Cool. Yeah. Talking about that, like following and crossing and stuff. I don't know if you have noticed, because you lost your bowling balls on the way here, so you haven't bowled yet. But last year we tried a thing with the cross that I did the same this year. Let's hear your opinion on it. So,
right.
So normally we hit 6 different pairs.
Yep.
But I've been thinking about it for a while, and we tested it last year and nobody complained. So we do it again this year. You actually bowled your last game on your starting pair now. So
you're incentivized to not destroy your starting pair.
That's my thinking.
I think that's great. Yeah, I think that's really good because, oftentimes, on tour or in other tournaments, we see that a lot where guys will really can destroy their starting pair, and now you're incentivized actually to try to make them nicer, in hopes that they're still nice when you get back to them versus destroying them.
No guarantee, but
no guarantee, but yeah, I mean you're more incentivized to do it versus not, which I think that's great. Actually, in a perfect world, I would say you get assigned a completely flat lane with a perfect rack, and you bowl 10 games on it or whatever, and you make your own bed.
Yeah. No, we had a couple of those tournaments as well in Sweden, and we have run one 2 years now in the Lucky Larsen name. Last year was a single lane thing, and this year is a double one lane tournament. just because it's been so much unhappiness in bowling with who you follow and stuff. So we're doing some of those, and it's I mean it's very cool and great in one way. Oh, Jesper, have some of that.
Boy, you don't see that from him very often.
600 RPMs left to 510. Okay. Well, no. So we created that tournament, and it gives you a better chance for a fair thing. Like you said, you gotta make your own bed.
Yeah.
But in another way, it's also some people think it's a little boring, because one of the funny things about bowling is to like be able to deal with whatever you get to the next game and stuff.
Right.
So I don't know what's right or wrong there, but I figure we're here at Olympia. We have 20 lanes, no pillars, no walls. There's no pairs that are stupid bad or anything like that. So that's why we tried it here. I mean, some centers, if you draw 1 and 2 and you got to bowl 2 games on it, you might as well just go to the bar or whatever.
Yeah, it's a disappointing.
Yeah.
You're very disappointed that the quote luck of the draw was not very lucky.
Yeah. No, so I figure this was a good place to try it, and this is the second year, and like I said, I haven't heard many complaints, and if you don't hear complaints,
You're doing good. Because bowlers are pretty good at complaining.
Well, we don't wait too long until we
No.
let people know.
That's right.
So that's one of our main goals over here at the Storm Lucky Larsen Masters is to give the bowlers as few reasons as possible to, let's say, just straight out bitch and whine.
Yeah.
Because we could do that.
Well, I this is the third time I've been to the tournament, and look at that.
Like it's his job.
Just as
Talking about spares, he
Unreal.
didn't even make the 5/10s.
Yep. I remember the first time I came over when it was in Monmouth, and I was like, this is a great tournament. This is worth getting on a plane, traveling across the Atlantic Ocean for. You and Daniel do such a great job. You really put it's great because you're both bowlers.
Yeah.
And you really put yourself in the bowler's shoes. And so it feels, the tournament has a feel about it that you just feel at home. And I think you guys do a great job. And I'm not trying to just pat you on the back or nothing, but man, you and Daniel both do a phenomenal job with organizing this and really do the sport of bowling a service for hosting this tournament.
Well, we really appreciate those words, and I guess I gotta pay you a beer, but no, it's we really appreciate it, of course, and I don't know if everybody knows, but Matt is working for Storm, and without Storm's support of this, we wouldn't be here. There's a lot of tournaments that are depending on Storm. There's Not for Not, they call them the bowlers company. Obviously, I've been with Storm for a long time, and Matt's been working for them, so we're only going to say good things about him. But there is a bunch of tournaments, and for sure, including this one, that wouldn't exist if Dave and Bill said no when I first sat down and talked to them, 2016, I think it was, or maybe early 17. Then we wouldn't be here. And now we are running the 6th edition. Unfortunately, Bill is not with us anymore, but I'm very, very happy that he had the chance to get here before he passed away, and by the look of it, he had a great time here too. We even got him out on the lanes one night.
Yeah.
He had a couple of drinks, and a couple of guys went down the lanes, and he showed up and threw some shots. So that was a pretty special moment for me to see that the founder of Storm getting all the way over here and enjoyed himself and being a part of the tournament. So I hope he sees us from up there, and
I hope so too. Yeah.
And then we'll keep working together to try to give Europe and Sweden a world-class event.
Yeah. This is a really great event for everybody in Europe to take advantage of, to get a taste of competing, in a tour-like environment against some of the better players from the United States. without having to go to the United States.
No, exactly. I mean, you get over here. You know how long it is and how easy to get your bowling bags.
Yeah, right.
Gone so there's a lot of obstacles to get over. I mean, first of all, you have to make the decision, buy your ticket and all that stuff, and to trust yourself to go on the other side of the pond. It's a big step and a lot of money. So I'm really happy that we get this together and give the. I mean, first of all, Swedish. I'm Swedish, and all the kids a chance to see the best and bowl against the best.
Yeah.
But also the whole Europe needs a event like this for sure.
Yeah, they absolutely do. It was great to see earlier today the youth squad was just about full.
Mm-hmm.
You know, and we did a youth clinic that was really good, and you know, they're going to be able to come back, and you know, they get to see. Yes, they're spoiled a little bit. You know, you can see Jesper, but you know, to see more of the pros that come over from the United States and watch them for multiple games right up close is really a treat for the youngsters. So.
No, absolutely. So I guess we are following Jesper here. I wonder if I can ask my dear tournament director friend here to switch us over to 5 and 6 and see my self-interest here. My brother bowl and see if he can keep it going. Yeah, what do you think? Like, you gonna when the bags gets here, do you think you're gonna give it a go, or what's your plan?
We'll see. I was coming to hopefully catch an early bird and you know, and just contribute to the tournament. Of course, I'm here on work duties first and bowling second, as I'm definitely not as sharp as I used to be.
Well, then we're sitting in the same boat, buddy.
Yeah. So, but I think tomorrow morning, my it sounds like my shoes are getting dusted off to
there we go.
to bowl with you and Daniel. So.
Yeah. Tomorrow morning, it seems like to be a tournament crew squad.
Yes. Yeah. I'm gonna drill myself a Lucky Larsen ball and grab my shoes, tie 'em in a knot over my shoulder, and that's gonna be what I got. So.
I mean, we have to mention it too. Like, it's when I grew up, of course, drilling a new bowling ball was one of the most exciting things you could do. We had Martin Blix sponsoring the youth squad, and I told them in the speaker that he was one of my first idols, and he really was.
Yeah.
And seeing him come to his dad's place and drill new balls, like that was, I didn't miss many of those opportunities. So I know the youngsters, they pretty much, I guess they feel the same as me, to drill new balls was cool. And I saw people, like Belmo got his own ball, and I saw some other things. And when I talked to the Storm and Tyler and said, hey, maybe we should do a Storm Lucky Larsen Masters ball, I go like, yeah, you're funny, thank you. Oh, thanks for teasing me.
Yeah.
And we actually have it now. It's
That's pretty cool.
It is really cool.
That's
like
really
it's we have the Swedish colors, and it's one of my absolutely favorite balls overall, with the phase 2 cover and core. So and for me actually it was my first squad. I did start with absolute power, but that was a little too much. I went to it and it rolled really good for a couple of games. But then I hit a pair where I started leaving the 10 pin and I started switching balls and didn't really find the right one. I guess I got to go back and do my homework. So, oops, that's a little too much, Marcus. Marcus, of course, he got here last year and destroyed the 46 feet pattern, the first block. One of Sweden's absolutely best bowlers and one of my good friends in Team Pergamon. He's very talented. He's bowling good this squad, but maybe he need to finish this block, this last half a game in style to be up there.
I'm really impressed with Tori Torgeson's young offspring here, Noel.
Mm-hmm.
He throws it really, really good.
Don't do it.
No,
don't do it.
No.
Oh shit.
Uh-oh. You know, I black clouded him because I started to talk about how, you know, I think he throws it really, really good.
And what's pretty funny, I mean, when I first traveled a lot in Europe and stuff, I was doing it with Tori and,
Yeah,
and,
yeah.
and Niklas Linderholm. So I spent a lot of time with those guys, and Tori was also one of my early idols, and I learned a lot from him. And we still bowl and golf and talk. And Newell, I mean, he is really talented and has a bright future bowling. But it was pretty cool that he went to your mental game clinic today, because one of his things is like he's still young and he likes to get like a little hard to himself.
Oh yeah. So my challenge for the kids today was when they came back to bowl their second block, because I asked who was bowling the second block. They all raised their hands.
Yeah.
Okay. And so I said, all right, here is my challenge to you. You can't say anything negative to yourself. Now you can say, hey, that was a bad break, or I made a bad shot there. You can be realistic. You don't have to sugarcoat things.
Mm-hmm.
But I said you cannot say a negative word to yourself or put yourself down the entire block.
Mm-hmm.
So maybe
we have to go have a little
we
talk
might have to
tomorrow.
have a little talk with them. Yep. But if that was the first time, it's 5.5 games in. So.
Yeah. No, he has great touch and obviously great genes with Tori and Linda, and he can throw it back up. He can be soft at it. He can hit the shit out of it. So I'm having a hard time seeing him not getting it really good.
I agree. I certainly agree. He has got a very, very bright future in the sport of bowling. Well, just like his father is arguably. I don't know much about the bowling history in Europe, obviously, not being from here.
Yeah.
But I can tell you without a shadow of a doubt that Tori Torgerson has to be in the conversation among a handful of the top bowlers ever to bowl in this continent.
Yeah. I mean, I would say if you don't take the guys that really on top of their career right now, I think Tori, Mika, and Thomas is the top three in Europe. That's my bet. But of course, then we have guys that's coming in like that's on top of their career, like Dominic and Jesper and guys like that. So it's there's many good ones. But Tori was pretty damn good.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, he has a little problem with his knees now. I guess the same thing as myself with old man syndrome. The body starts to hurt a little bit after a lot of games. So let's see. Come on, brother. My man Magnus here, he still fighting and still has a pretty good chance to put up a good score.
Does.
For the ones interested, I'm pretty sure he's been getting the most of his score with the reality check from Global 900. One of the reality balls I've been liking the most, actually.
You like the check the most,
Yeah.
really?
Yeah. I know that's not the main, the best-selling reality for sure. I think the normal reality was by far
The most popular one, yeah.
And now we have the harsh and the harsh pearl, but I like the reality check a lot, and I still have it in my bag for sure.
Oh, yeah.
So I felt that that was the one that gave me the biggest window. And,
Okay.
That's another expression we have, like window. I guess that's if the ball has a big window, it feels like you can use it on multiple patterns and multiple ways.
Yeah.
Certain bowling balls is like a driver or whatever you want to say. Like you can just use it in one way.
Yep. Yeah, it's a ball that generally shapes the right way in a lot of different situations. Where it doesn't get behind the head pin a lot, it doesn't overhook a lot, it doesn't underhook a lot. It just seems to always do the right thing in most situations for you. And those are, oddly enough, that generally gets put into like phase 2 IQ tour category.
Absolutely.
And then you look at the numbers of those balls, and then you're like, okay, yeah, it kind of makes sense.
Yeah.
So.
And when we talk about numbers, we're talking about RGs and RG differentials and stuff like that. And if you don't have any idea about that and you're a bowler, I will strongly recommend you to start learning a little bit. And my suggestion is start looking at RGs first. Like if you get to know what balls you like and looking if they're high or low RGs, then gives you a little hint on what your preferences are.
Yeah, I got a really simple expression. I'm oversimplifying here, but RG is front to back and diff is side to side.
Yeah, that makes sense.
Yeah.
So low RG ball grows a little earlier and stable, and high RG ball a little further down the lane, a little bit more unstable. And then
Differential.
higher diff, a little bit more engine, a little bit more flair.
Yep.
It gives you a little bit more hook potential. And low RG diff, like spare balls, has basically no diff, goes straight, no flair, no help, no engine. So I guess that's a really quick lesson on bowling balls and the engine in the bowling balls.
Ah, there we go. Nice triple for Noel.
Yeah, and then we actually have a pretty cool thing happening up in one of the hometown favorites. Anton Andersson started the last game with front 8.
Oh, look at that! Yes.
And we have a couple of different ways you can make the cut here. So you either top 40.
The turbo. There's
Yeah,
a turbo, right?
Exactly. No, I was going to come to that. You
I'm
jumped me.
sorry. I'm sorry. I just wanted to, because it's
Yeah.
so rare. I get to bowl
Yeah.
over here, and you got all the different ways to make a cut.
exactly.
So, sorry.
So
Oh,
you
go ahead.
don't want to give the guys no chance. So actually, sometimes the turbo is like you pay a little extra fee to get into it. This year, I guess both me and Matt can say we're proud to have one of our long-time supporters, Turbo Grips. So Turbo 21 Grips is supporting the event this time, and we decided to put their money into to the turbo. So this year, everybody that entered the squads
Yep.
are automatically in the turbo.
Hey, that's awesome.
Yeah. So thank you, Turbo, for that. And then we have so this 5th and the 6th game. So if you're not making it in any other way in top 40, or if you're a best early bird or plus 50 or female or youth, you can still make it with the highest 5th or 6th game that's not making it in any other way. And I bet Anton has a pretty good one coming here. So even if I know Anton is going to bowl more, this is a home center. He's up and coming guy.
Yep.
So this is at least a good feeling to walk off the lanes with something like this. What do we have here? Magnus had my brother had 138, yeah, and then now he has another 25 over. Oh. This next shot could be big.
Could be very big because he's pacing 220. So if he can get out for 240, that's very sizable.
Obviously, it's still very early, hard to say cuts and stuff. Everybody asks me, what's the cut going to be? That's one of the hardest
right?
things.
Yeah, that's like saying, can you predict the future?
And I've been testing patterns. I've been bowling one squad. I've been bowling my whole life. I can still not really say, but my guess, I said probably around 150 plus minus 5.
Okay.
That's just an educated guess for me. But
All right. Oh,
yeah,
there we go.
that was a pretty good one.
Yes, it was. He didn't get cheated on that one either. He made sure that one was going to hook.
He's getting close to 40 now, my brother, but he gave it his best. So that was a good one. What about I missed Anton? What did he leave? 9 spare.
Oh, I didn't see it.
7 pin.
Oh, 7.
We also, I don't know if we mentioned that thing, but have you guys mentioned the Rodder thing, the lucky game we had?
No, you can win that nice watch.
Yeah, the Captain Cook Rodder watch worth 57,000 Swedish, and instead of a 300 game, it's a lucky game. So it's 10 frames, random frames over the block. Like it starts with the first frame in the first game, and there's 8 frames in the middle, and it ends with the last frame in the last game. You fill those frames, and if you strike in all of them, you get a lucky game 300.
Mm-hmm.
And that can give you the watch if there's more than one.
Oh,
Great shot,
very
brother.
nice.
Now I feel like I've had a tough time to be best in the family this year. Yeah, so if you shoot a big one there, if we have any ties, there's going to be just a simple luck of the draw.
Mm-hmm.
The 150 Swedish can give you the 57,000 Swedish
Wow.
krona watch. That's pretty cool.
Pretty impressive. That's worth it. How much is the entry fee for that?
So 150 Swedish. So in dollars, it's $15 to enter and $5,500
Oh,
watch.
that's an easy.
I think so.
Yeah, absolutely. I just won 500 crowns at the slot machine, so
Yeah,
you count me
yeah,
in.
yeah,
If
there
I'm
you go.
bowling tomorrow, you count me in for that
Oh,
one.
that was a unlucky break for Noel. He left a little Swiffer or whatever we call it 7-pin, a little light.
Yeah. So your brother's gonna get out for 1380.
Yeah. I would be shocked if that's not enough.
I would be shocked too.
For the at least for the early bird.
Yes, I think that's gonna be all right for the early bird.
I mean, I just said I think the cut's gonna be around 1350. So, but I'm just pure guessing. But it's gonna be good for third at the moment.
Yeah.
Very good. Very good. And he got here. Didn't really know how much his body's gonna hold up. He bowled one squad, and you know what happened? I have to mention this because this is pretty cool and funny. My first national team coach in the Swedish national team for the adults was Magnus Jonsson Jr. Or not junior, senior.
Yeah.
Junior is the guy who works with Lane Talk now. I bowled with him in the team and in Team Sweden. But Magnus Jonsson Senior was my first coach. Very successful. I got my first World Championship gold together with Magnus. And when he heard that we had a little less entries this year, he said, I would like to help a couple of guys. So we made a little fun joke. I said, hey, Magnus Junior can't really bowl, but there's another Magnus Junior that are bowling. So he said, okay, let's sponsor a squad for him. He wasn't really supposed to bowl. He said, maybe bowl, okay. My body's feeling okay, I bowl another one. This is the squad.
Yeah, that's pretty cool.
So, yeah, you got to take advantage when I guess that's one thing overall in bowling. When your chance is given to you, you got to take
You got to take advantage. Yeah.
That's a 1360 or 58 from Noel. That's a good score as well.
For the youth?
That's for the youth and for the early bird and everything, yeah.
Yeah.
So he has a lot of chances there.
Yeah.
And 269 at Anton.
For the turbo?
Yeah, who knows?
You never know.
No. Is there anything else interesting going on here? Maybe we just have a look what Jesper finished. Of course, he's the superstar in Sweden here, so it's always interesting. It was a 1920. Let's see if we have our computer hacker here getting us over. You guys that may be already watching that part of the center, you might already know. It might be done. There might be only 3 on that one.
It's like 217, 1269.
1269 for the first squad.
Yep.
I'll bet he learned quite some and getting back stronger. I don't think he's bowling this evening squad. He's probably driving back home to his family and coming back, I think, on Tuesday.
Yeah, he told me Kyle Troop and
Kyle Troop and his wife-to-be,
wife-to-be
is
joining.
Yeah, they're coming. They're flying into Gothenburg on tomorrow, I think. And they're going to spend 2 days in Gothenburg, and then they can come down here.
Yep.
Bowl on Tuesday. So, folks, tune in on Tuesday. Kyle and Jesper is bowling. And then they're joining us for a little golf outing on Wednesday.
Yes.
So, and you know what? I've ordered the perfect golf weather. It's going to be like 23, 24
Celsius.
Yes.
Yep.
Exactly. And it's going to be just perfect, just nice for us.
I'm looking forward to it.
That's cool.
My golf game's a lot stronger than my bowling game right now, just so you know.
Okay. And that's pretty good there because I never seen you do really bad on the lanes. Well, people, thanks for listening. Hope you subscribe into our YouTube channel. That could help us grow the tournament. We are live streaming every squad. We're not commentating every squad, but we're going to try to let you know when we have the chance. And you can follow on YouTube the whole way up until top 4. And then we have a pretty cool thing coming when Lane Talk TV is going to get launched. And we're going to live stream the top 4 there together with the world famous Dave Ryan and Randy Peterson that usually do the commentating on Fox. That's going to be cool. That's really breaking news for us over here. It's super excited about that.
Yeah, that's going to be awesome.
Appreciate the time, Matt.
Hey, thank you, Martin. It was a pleasure.
Thanks, guys, for listening. We'll be back with streaming the squad at 9 o'clock, but I don't think there will be any commentating, so you guys can just watch and listen to music or whatever.
Yeah, we'll be good.
Yeah. Thank you. Bye bye.
Ja, min nästa som jag anmält till är ju fredag 19. Alltså,
Ja, ja, ja.
men kanske ska spela en mer i veckan. Jag vet inte. Jag tror att jag ska träna på tisdag. Jag vet inte.
Då har jag tid att köpa lite såna här, vad heter det?
Ja.
Tills dess.
Köpa uniform också.